Hi, what I'd like to do here for the viewers is compare the SIG SP2022 in 9mm model as well as 357 SIG. A lot of people may not have been able to see these two handguns right next to one another to compare them. So first off, the SIG SP2022 is the most recent version of the original SIG Pro, which was made in the early 1990s. The most noticeable difference between the SIG Pro and the new SP2022 is the 1913 Picatinny style rail on the bottom of the frame of the gun. The SIG Pros just had like a gradual slope without a Picatinny rail. So let's get to the breakdown. I'll try to break both of these down. I'll keep each firearms parts kind of in its own location here so you can compare and contrast the two. First we'll break down the 357 SIG. It's very similar to like a 1911, some other pistols that have the takedown lever as the actual slide releaser. Okay, so slide comes off, very similar to all the other SIG pistols after that point. What I'm actually doing to get this lever out, for those who are not familiar with 1911s and other similar pistols, you want to slide the slide back until this notch right here lines up with this takedown lever. So we slide it all the way back, line it up right there, and then push with our finger on the other side. Okay, so we're pushing with our finger on this other side right here into this little indent as we have this lined up. Once we have that, the lever comes right out. Slide the slide off. Okay. Now, as far as similarities, the frame is constructed virtually the same. The sights are exactly the same, both SIG-Lite night sights. Okay. The guide rods, we'll break both of these down. The guide rods are basically identical in both of these pistols. Okay. They're polymer, in case you're wondering, not metal. Magazines are constructed very similar. Sometimes you'll see them with the holes back here to identify round count. Sometimes, like on the 357 SIG 40 Smith & Wesson, this holes will be on the side here. But as far as their function, they look and operate identical, and you want to make sure that you can identify those so you don't get them mixed up between the two. Now, differences. Okay, obviously the slides, let me remove these barrels here. Okay, your slides are going to be very similar. One thing you'll notice right away between the 9 and the 357 is on the top of the slide, the 9mm has a loaded chamber indicator that pops up whenever the round is in the chamber. The 357 SIG does not have that. And that's also going to come into play later on when I show you how we try to swap the barrels from one to the other and how it won't work. So that's kind of a good thing, so you don't accidentally get the wrong barrel and the wrong firearm. The other thing you'll notice, like I already said, are these two notches here in the slide. They are different distance apart, so that's another way you can identify between the two calibers. Other than that, the internals are pretty much the same. You'll notice just a slight difference in a contour here and more material on the slide here as opposed to on the 357 SIG, which actually is going to make it a little heavier. The 9mm will be slightly heavier because there's slightly more material here. Another difference between the two is the 357 SIG has a spring that is a heavier spring, and it's actually marked with blue paint, so it's a blue spring, it's color coded, and this 9mm is just a regular silver spring, so one's going to be a little bit stiffer than the other. Now, as far as the frames go, the frames will actually be able to interchange to either slide. So for instance, if I wanted to take this slide for the this frame for the 9mm and put the 357 SIG slide on it, it will actually function perfectly normal, and vice versa. That's kind of a nice thing to know, because for instance, if you were able to purchase a SIG Pro 2340, which is the older version of this pistol in 357 SIG, and you wanted to be able to have a rail on that frame, you could buy a modern, more modern, updated SP2022 pistol and use that slide on that frame, and that would solve your issues there. So you can kind of make it a little bit mission adaptable, so to speak. Alright, so I have these broke down. I'm going to exchange the 357 SIG barrel for the 9mm and show you exactly how this loaded chamber indicator and also the cutout of the slide is going to actually be able to keep you from making a mistake and putting the wrong barrel in the wrong gun. You can see how this is wider here. This gap here is not as wide in the slide, and then the loaded chamber indicator also. Okay, now the 9mm barrel will fit into the 357 SIG. It won't fit and function, but it will actually fit in the gun. So you have to be careful with that. Alright, so basically what we've covered so far is barrels are not interchangeable. The slides, the guide rods are interchangeable. They're identical, same same length, same everything. All right. The slides have different notches, but the slides will interchange onto each frame. So I could swap these frames, and the only difference you're going to notice is this one has a lanyard hole and this one doesn't. Other than that, they'll completely function 100% in each gun. Okay. So let's reassemble them, and then the last thing we're going to kind of touch upon here is the interchangeability of the magazines.